Many years ago, there was an emperor who was very fond of clothes. That's all he ever thought of. He didn't care about his soldiers, his land, or driving through the woods in his coach. All the things emperors always do. All he thought about was clothes, clothes, clothes. Do you know anyone like that? Life was very festive in the town where he lived. It was such a fun place. Strangers would come to visit it every day. Can you think of any fun places you would like to visit? One day, there were two new strangers in town. Unfortunately, they weren't very nice. They were swindlers. Swindlers are cheaters and liars. They told everyone they were weavers, and they knew how to weave the most beautiful fabrics imaginable. Not only were the colors and patterns very fine, but the clothes that were made of this fabric would become invisible to every person who was not fit for the job he held. That means if you were not a good worker, you wouldn't be able to see the clothes made out of this material. I hope you don't have a pair of jeans made out of that. Those must be splendid clothes, thought the emperor. By wearing them, I should be able to discover which men in my kingdom are unfit for their jobs. I shall be able to tell the wise men from the fools. Yes, I certainly must order some of that fabric to be made into a new suit for me. The emperor paid the two swindlers a lot of money so that they might begin their work at once. They opened up a little shop and put up two sewing machines and pretended to sew, but there really wasn't any fabric. It was all a joke and an easy way for them to make money, because no one would ever admit they couldn't see the fabric, because that would mean they weren't any good at their jobs. Would you say you saw the fabric if it wasn't there? The emperor was wondering how the suit was coming, and he sent one of his ministers to check it out. So the minister went to the shop where the swindlers sat working at the empty sewing machines. My goodness, thought the minister, opening his eyes very wide. Why, I can't see a thing. But he wouldn't tell that to anyone. Do you know why? Because if he didn't see it, that meant he wasn't any good at his job. Aren't those swindlers terrible men? The minister walked closer to the machine and pretended he could see the fabric. Beautiful, just beautiful, lied the minister. I've never seen anything quite like it. Thank you, said one of the swindlers as he pretended to sew. I think it is one of the best suits I've ever made. Do you think the emperor will be pleased? The minister said he would tell the emperor how beautiful it was as soon as he returned to the palace. And what do you think he did? He told the emperor it was the most magnificent suit he had ever seen. Now, the emperor decided it was time for him to see the fabric while it was still on the sewing machine. So he sent for 2 more of his trusted servants, and the 3 of them went off to see the new suit. "Magnificent," said the 2 servants as they looked at the empty machine. "What a design! What colors!" And they pointed to the empty machine, for each thought the other could see the fabric. "What?" thought the emperor. "I see nothing at all. This is terrible. Am I a fool? Does this mean I am not fit to be emperor? Why, nothing worse could happen to me." The emperor decided he would never let anyone know that he couldn't see anything. The last thing he wanted was to have his title taken away from him. Where would he go if he was asked to leave the castle? Where would he find a place to live with his many closets? "I'll never let anyone know," he thought. "Oh, it is beautiful," said the emperor. "It has my highest approval." And he nodded his satisfaction as he gazed at the empty machine. Nothing would make him say he could not see the fabric. "I'll wear this suit tomorrow, and I'll walk down the center of town," said the emperor. "Make sure everyone is out to see me." The 2 servants thought it was a wonderful idea, and the swindlers promised to have the suit finished first thing in the morning. They made sure everyone saw them work all night. They pretended to take the suit off the machine. They cut it out in the air with a huge pair of scissors and made their last stitches with needles without any thread in them. At last they said, "Now the emperor's clothes are ready." Once again, the emperor came to the shop, and both swindlers raised one arm in the air as if they were holding something. They said, "See, these are the trousers. This is the coat. Here is the hat. Feel how light they are. One might think you had nothing on." "Yes," said the emperor, but he could not see anything, for there was nothing to see. "Will your Royal Highness be kind enough to take off your clothes?" said the swindlers. "Then we may put on the new ones." And what do you think happened? The emperor took off all his clothes, and the 2 men pretended to give him one piece of clothing after another. They pretended to tie something around his waist and something around his neck. They pretended to put on his shirt and his pants and his robe and his shoes. And then they held up a mirror in front of him. He was stark naked. But do you think he would admit he couldn't see the clothes? "Magnificent," said the emperor, lying to himself. "After I take my walk down the center of town, I will make you both knights in my court, the highest honor I can bestow on you." Soon it was time to leave. He called in his servants and showed off his suit. "Magnificent, your highness," they said as they stared at his naked body in amazement. "Never was there a suit quite like it. Everyone will cheer." The servants were to carry the robe from behind and pretend to lift it from the ground with both hands, and they walked along with their hands in the air. They dared not let it appear that they could not see anything. The emperor walked along, and everybody in the streets and at the windows exclaimed, "How beautiful the emperor's new clothes are! What a splendid robe! Look at those shoes! See how his crown glistens in the sun! And they fit to perfection. No one would ever admit they couldn't see anything, or it would mean they were bad at their jobs, and who could afford to get fired? What would you say if you were there?" The emperor was having a wonderful time. None of his walks or suits had ever been so successful. When I get home, I'll have them sew me 3 more suits, he thought. Why, I'll have them make suits for everyone in the kingdom. Then he waved to the townspeople as he walked by. But one little boy wasn't fooled. He was too young to work, so it didn't matter if people thought he was good at his job or not. He stared at the naked emperor walking by, and then yelled at the top of his lungs. Why, he yelled as loud as you can. And what do you think it was he shouted? "Look, the emperor has nothing on. He's naked." "Oh, listen to the child," said his father, and one person whispered to another what the boy had said. "He has nothing on. A child says he has nothing on." "But he has nothing on," at last cried all the people. "He's as naked as the day he was born." And at that very moment, the emperor turned red with embarrassment, because he knew it was true. "What a fool I am!" And he ran back to the castle as fast as he could and locked the door. The next day, he gave all his clothes to the poor and tried to be a good emperor for the first time in his life. And he was. He became the best emperor the kingdom ever had, and soon the people forgave him for his foolishness.